Hi, everyone. This is Cody with the 307 podcast, and I just wanted to say thanks to all of our awesome patrons. If you like our show and want to support us, you can find us at www.patreon.com/The Forge Herald. Thanks, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 307 RPG podcast. My name is Patrick, and I'm your host, and I'm joined by both of my co-hosts.
Hey, I'm back, and my name's Cody.
And I'm Nolan.
Cody, welcome back. We've missed you.
I miss being here.
It's been a spell.
Yeah, it's been forever.
Yeah, that means we're gonna have some Kickstarter news today, aren't we?
We are gonna have
That's
the Kickstarter
awesome.
news.
So we had a little bit different show tonight. I know we are supposed to do our wizard deep dive, but we're going to do that next time because instead we're going to kind of take a page out of the Critical Role playbook and do a between the sheets, but we're going to do that with our entire Vampire the Masquerade cast. Mm-hmm. So joining us, not entire, we are missing Tammy tonight, but we do have Zach and Sheree with us, and of course Cody and Nolan, and I will be heading up the question asking, and we'll get into that a little bit. But before we do that, there is some news. Nolan, what is going on in D&D right now?
Well, it seems like E3 is going on right now, and the first big announcement was Baldur's Gate 3, and it's done by Larry.
I think it's hilarious. You're being so low key right now because all week you've been like Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm pretty excited for it. Was it Larian Studios?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep, Larian. They made
Divinity: Original Sin 2.
Yeah, they've made a lot of wacky games, and then they got where you play as a dragon with a jetpack.
A dragon? Why would a dragon need a jetpack?
It doesn't matter. And you marry a skeleton at the end.
Because why not?
Because why not? Apparently. So they made a bunch of wacky computer games, and they kept getting more and more into
Damn it, Monty.
I
feel like I've been gone, and I've not been gone that long when that happens.
So they make a bunch of wacky games.
Yeah, they made a bunch of wacky games, and then they finally made something called Divinity: Original Sin. Okay. And it was like a classic Western computer RPG.
And you like it?
I think people for a long time have been missing the old style group-based, turn-based style game, and so...
Yeah, and they finally made it, and then they made Original Sin 2, which is lightning in a bottle. It's the best computer RPG I think ever made.
I never played Baldur's Gate. I was into Diablo 2 at the time when Baldur's Gate first came out. I had a friend who was really into Baldur's Gate, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you got to try Baldur's Gate." And I never did. I only played Diablo at the time.
I would say probably BioWare's probably very first-ish best game.
It might be their first game.
I mean, it really kind of set them up for kind of what became a great whirlwind of that style of gameplay.
I think it laid the groundworks for all Western computer games, like RPG style games. The games have changed, but there is almost zero difference between Baldur's Gate and Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic.
The formula for them
formula stayed the same.
You know what to expect,
even when the world changed, and people have continued to copy it.
Interesting.
When you were saying that there was some of the artwork is going to transfer over to Avernus that they've done, so you will see that double up.
Well, it looks like the main villain. You and I were kind of watching the trailer for it. It looks like the main villain is a Mind Flayer.
Yeah, they confirmed it was a Mind Flayer spaceship in the background.
Yeah, in the background.
It looked like Emrakul.
Yeah, like a big old Cthulhu style invasion.
Yeah, there's the founder of Larian did confirm that in the background of the trailer there is a Mind Flayer spaceship.
Yeah, so it looks like Eldrazi have invaded D&D.
Yeah. So they talked about it a little bit. They basically, the comment that they made was, the agreement is that we respect their lore and we base ourselves in D&D 5th edition. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. They want us to make a really good video game that feels like you're playing Dungeons & Dragons on your computer alone or with friends. And so that's really what we want to make. So having it be a multiplayer thing, and hopefully it's just another transition for people to be like, wow, that was really fun. I imagine timing with Avernus and stuff like that will all kind of be in group with there. And so maybe just bring in another generation or genre-based back and forth. Play some PC games, go back, check out the old school games, or bring them in and play some new D&D. So.
Well, cool.
Just so nobody corrects us, BioWare's first game was called Shattered Steel.
Shattered Steel.
Fair enough.
which was the precursor to before they went into Baldur's Gate.
They made a Sonic game too
Ooh.
for like the Game Boy.
Really?
Gotta start somewhere.
You gotta
So-
start somewhere.
Anything else in D&D world?
haven't-
Again, I know we just had D&D Live, so there's been not a whole lot coming out. We've talked quite a bit about what, like with Avernus and the Ack Inc. book and things like that. So there's not a whole lot else going on.
Yeah, be some video game stuff here for a little bit as E3 goes on, but book-wise, I think we're all just kind of waiting for stuff to get released.
Yep. So over at Onyx Path, again, they still have the Pirates of Pugmire Kickstarter going, which I know Cody's here, so we will have some Kickstarter stuff. The other thing that came out of Onyx Path is there is another Vampire the Masquerade game coming out, computer game, as well as a Werewolf the Apocalypse game for computer. I don't know anything about those except I just happened to see it and thought I'd mention it tonight because, well, we like to talk about those things. I did a poor job of researching my topic.
So far they've had those clan trailers, I guess, as they would be for, what was it, Bloodlines 2?
Yeah, for Bloodlines 2, yeah, they did release the final.
They're so fantastic.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing.
There's such a
they
good
did
feel for
Ventrue, Bruja, Tremere, Toreador, Malkavian.
Yep. Watching the Malkavian one was really good. The Toreador one blew me away. Like, it was just such a, I don't know. They all, everyone I've watched has been like, they nailed it. So
Those are all the Camarilla, right?
No, because the Bruja left the Camarilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Bruja left and the Assamite are actually part of the Camarilla, part of the Assamite anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah, and Gangrel left too, so.
I've got all kinds of new stuff to learn.
Yeah, so interesting things there.
And he's down.
So Cody, since you're back, let's talk Kickstarter. Sorry.
Kickstarter. So let's start with Pirates of Pugmire. You mentioned it, so we might as well throw a shout
They're
out.
about 10,000 shy of their goal, and I think 13 days left.
Yeah, 9 now, actually. They got 12 days left. They're over 500 backers, so they're crouching up on it. They should, based on what I can see, probably hit their goal. You know, you always get that big push at the end of Kickstarters for sure. But I have both the Pugmire and the Monarchies of Mao games, so I'll probably look into getting that. You know, why not get some fun pirate stuff to go with your anthropomorphic dogs and cat RPG? Yeah, 2 other ones I'd probably. You got something, Zach?
Zach has a big wide-eyed look on his face.
I actually saw a while ago it's 5th edition based systems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's pictures.
Yeah, I did see a thing for this.
Pug pirate.
It is animals.
I thought about buying it and trying to get everyone to play it during one of my stupid random
I'd give it a
things,
try.
but
I was a huge fan of the Redwall series, so I would be down.
Oh yeah, Redwall.
Got me started.
Love it.
I'd definitely try it. So
I'm going to go hit the middle one is going to be the less named thing on there. Loresmith has released their second in a collection of books that they've been doing. They did the Remarkable Inns and Where to Find Them that I backed.
sure.
They are now doing Remarkable Shops and their wares. So
that'll be interesting.
We'll give you a bunch of shops that you can throw into your games and interesting items in those shops and shopkeepers and some fun depth and personality to those places to make them come to life, so to speak, in your games. And then the last one is Sly Flourish, a.k.a. Mike Shea, has released his new book, which is The Fantastic Adventures, Ruins of Grendelroot for 5th edition.
Oh, nice.
So
Sly Flourish did the Lazy DM, right?
yes, he did the Lazy Dungeon Master's Guide, and then the Return. I can't remember the name of it right now, but he is also a writer for D&D Beyond.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Very cool.
So those are the 3 that are on the radar right now. I'm sure there are hundreds more, and I'm sorry if I did not mention yours. You can always throw us a tweet or email, and I would be happy to look into it. And
if you got a Kickstarter coming up and you'd like us to talk about it on the show, Cody is our Kickstarter guy. At the end of the show, we always talk about how you can reach us. So reach out to Cody. And if you if you don't remember how to reach out to Cody, you can always reach out to either Nolan or myself and let us know, and we will direct Cody to you. We love letting people know about things that are coming up. We're a community of content creators. We like supporting each other. So,
For sure.
So that is our news section and Kickstarter section. Just not a lot going on right now. Which brings us to our Vampire the Masquerade Q&A, where I get to act as the question giver. What's a good word here? Moderator? Yeah, I get to act as moderator to all of you. So we're going to have Sheree go ahead and unmute her mic. She's been sitting here with a muted mic this whole time. And I'm going to ask questions. So some of them will be for the entire group, and we'll just kind of go around the table, and some of them will be for you individually. Okay?
Cool.
All right. So we're going to start with a group question. Take turns answering it however you want to. My question is to each of you. You've all played Dungeons and Dragons, various editions. I know some of you, like Sheree, started with Vampire the Masquerade, but I think there's a huge difference between the two games. Having all of you played both games now, I'm curious, what are your thoughts between the differences between the two games? We'll start with Zach.
Oh, no, you should not start with me.
All right, we'll start with Cody.
Yeah.
Well, I think as always, I mean, we've hit on it a couple of times, especially when we did the combined finger air quotes contagion type game where we had vampires and werewolves. Vampire is a lot, I don't want to say faster paced, but you are more fragile as a character, I feel like, in Vampire for sure than you are in D&D. I mean, everybody feels like they're super fragile in D&D, but I mean, after we iced Zach's
Sire?
yes, wow, Zach's Sire in like 14 seconds. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about a D&D boss fight, you're hunkered down for...
It took me 2 hits
to
kill a 6th generation vampire.
Which in turn could be any one of us. So I think the fragility of your characters being that you, even though you are superhuman in a sense, you have to be very careful of what you do in this game.
Sure. Nolan?
I think the big thing on it, and it does tie into that combat thing of, if you look at D&D, it's about, well, what's your armor because you're going to get hit? What's your weapons because you're going to do damage? You look at this here, and you got strength and dex, and then you got brawl, weapons, and firearms. And then you've got, 30 other skills. So combat seems to be very little part of the game, at least in this standpoint of what I've seen, because, I mean, really we haven't, we've had a couple fights, but it's really been more about, like, I'm going to try and be sneaky, and that's where the tension comes from, where I'm going to, feed on a little girl and I gotta hide it or whatever. That's the lock picking section of this game on like crack. You're like, oh my god, we're all gonna die because we just broke the masquerade. So it's these different fears versus. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I can. Combat's gonna be over in 3 rounds. It's how you play the rest of the game for the entire session of, there's tattletales everywhere and everybody's got a hidden agenda and there's nobody's sitting over your shoulder watching you raid a dungeon and kill a boss or whatever, and like, well, how'd you guys do it? Well, so whatever the story spins afterwards. Here, there's people watching you and waiting for you to mess up so they can play the game. And so I would say that's probably for me of less about what my character can actually do in combat, more about who my character is and how he reacts to situations. And so given the two, I feel like I'm probably a better D&D player because RP becomes more important.
I was going to ask that.
And that's where I feel like the difference is of like all of a sudden I have more connection, and in doing this stuff I have more connection to the character too. It's like Ares has more feelings than most of my D&D characters of my murder hobo death machine smite knight or whatever. It's like, yeah, I feel kind of this way here. This character has depth and background and has been through some horrible things. It's just like in D&D you're a hero and you're slaughtering and killing and everything's bad guys and stuff like that, and here you got to eat on people every day and you kind of feel like a piece of trash as a human being, but that's the nature of the game. And so
I can't remember who it was that said it if it was Richard Dawkins, Justin DeGilli, or even wow, I'm drawing blanks tonight, Jason Carl. in Vampire the Masquerade, make no mistake, you are a monster.
Mhm.
And you are a monster trying to hold on to your humanity. You will do things that are monster-like, like feed on little babies, or manipulate people in such a way that, well, quite frankly, if you're a human being, it'd be pretty freaking nasty. The
It's
things
pretty
that
dark.
you do. Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
It really is. And I think there's like I said, there's an appreciation for the RP side of that, and it gives the character levels. Like I don't think I could play, my paladin would be a lot different now playing this game of all this stuff. Like, why are you acting that way? What are you trying to hide? Like, why are you, hoorah, go team, shiny white, like what happened to you? Why are you so messed up? You have to be almost mentally disordered to get to that point. Were you abused? What happened to make you, and so it just adds layers to it. And that's what I think Vampire adds, is just, it's a character.
Let's go over to Shri. Shri?
So I think it's interesting to hear everybody's perspective on the game, because I feel like my perspective is so different. So I kind of disagree with Cody, because I feel that I feel more powerful as these characters as any D&D character I've ever played. Like, I feel like this game is all passion and pain, and I think the reason that I relate so well to it is because of the RP aspect. So more of the story. That's always been the thing that I love, even in D&D, is the stories that we create. And I think I've said this before, is, this is like the adult storytelling time. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Just because Gretchen gets naked doesn't mean we have to
it's not. It's not that. I think
it's
the adult
fun and
themes-
crazy until you get out crazied.
Yeah, exactly. and it's the adult
It is
themes
less
that-
about it's more based in realism. Like,
Right.
in D&D you can solve your thing by assassinating somebody and cover it up, and here it's like there's consequences.
Yeah.
There are punishments, and just murder hoboing isn't an option. So there's
Exactly.
wit, there's tact, there's ploys, there's allies. Like, it's just got this level of realism to it that's also based in fantasy.
Right, it's very political.
And I think,
Yeah,
to
it's
expand
awesome.
a little bit on what Cody is saying, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong here, you are these really powerful beings, but there is an incredible fragility to these beings, because at any point someone could open up your sleeping quarters, your coffin in the middle of the day, and burn you, and you're dead.
No, and I'm not saying that you're not fragile in a certain aspect. What I'm saying is that as a player, I feel powerful.
Oh, okay.
So I feel that my character has a lot of power, but you have to also keep in mind that you are surrounded by other very powerful beings. You're not the only badass in the room. You are surrounded by people who may outwit you at any moment. And I think that doesn't make me feel fragile, but it makes me feel it's exciting, and it feels like you have to really play the game and really develop the story.
I think it'd be interesting to see now, as we make D&D characters too, of trying to say, okay, I want to make a vampire character in this world, because being a wizard or an illusion mage, where you're messing with people's minds, or a psychic or something like that, and knowing the fact that I don't know, here it's pretty obvious you're not the biggest dog on the block. In D&D we haven't ran into that point, and again, I think it's because you're the heroes, and here you're kind of, like you said, I feel super powerful, and then I get out-Lasombred by some guy. I'm like, God damn it! What does I got to take? All right, hold him down. I got to eat somebody. I want that. How do I get that? And it's a weird addiction. It's a weird crazy.
And I know Cody wants to say something. Cody, we'll come back to you, I promise. But let's give Zach a chance.
Sorry, Cody.
Let's give Zach a chance. to weigh
Damn
in.
you, Zach.
No, we can hear what Cody's gonna say.
No. It was just quick. I think that your characters are extremely powerful. I won't argue that with Shuri at all. No, my statement of fragility doesn't come in the raw power aspect of your characters. It's the ease of your characters to be destroyed without your control, and how quickly it can be done.
Yeah, I think if it was one of those things of, at any given moment, we do something wrong, and it's like, any one of us are 2 hits from dead. That's just how I look at it. And basically it's like, okay, who's faster?
Yeah, and there's no death saving throws. There's no.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of it's a quick draw thing. It is. It's who goes first. Okay, well, you have a celerity of 3 and you have that potency. Well, you hit me once and I'm already at -3 to all my rolls. I can't catch up at this point. Next round you go first and I die.
It's kind of like you walk into the fight, and who's gonna get the craziest the fastest, right? Who's gonna be wearing that wrestling singlet underneath their clothes?
You are.
And at any given
Strip down
moment,
and chase
somebody
the
just
other guy down
decides
the
to, I make a pact with you. Sorry, you're dead. And you didn't even know what happened because all 3 of us attack you at the same time.
Oh,
or
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just, you're just like, guard up all the time, and you're just on edge.
And my statement from that is that can happen in the blink of an eye. Where
Right.
in D&D you don't ever see
poor
a
nun.
boss go down in 1 or 2
your nun
rounds.
was gone.
Yeah,
And I was like, I
remember
don't
that?
even think I got to go yet, and the nun was dead, and I was just like, oh, somebody's stronger here because I am not the one.
Okay, let's go to Zach. I do want to hear
I
Zach's
just want
thoughts.
to say I'm not afraid.
We know.
No, you're just
I
crazy.
missed some things. Yeah, I'm not sure where to start. As for like just straight up combat, I would not pick Vampire to just like have a war game.
No.
But Nolan says, you can use brawl and dodge and melee and maybe ride for combat, and you've got strength and dexterity and stamina, and then you got 30 other things that you use all of these skills. And I'm not sure how modern Vampire works, but how skills work in this is just so simple and so concise and just perfect that, in fact, I think it's how all skills should be used in all.
I do like the idea of the combination of two. Like,
Yeah, it's just real simple.
you can be
Like,
super fast but clumsy, or versus just I got a 20 dex, I'm an elf and I catch everything. And I know that's the great example of you hate elves, but you can be super fast and quick on your hands, but just butterfingers, and
Well,
there's stats for that.
But it's just one of those things where it's like I would decouple persuasion and charisma in 5th edition. I wouldn't even put like it does where charisma is next to persuasion. Be like, listen, the DM is going to ask for a certain check.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you proficient? Okay, you're proficient, but like you're going to have to use wisdom to persuade this guy. And turns out you dumped it because you're dumb.
For the
And
moment,
it's just
yeah.
like, well, shit, I put all of my points into charisma thinking that I would use. No, like, I think that is just such a beautiful little way of doing it. Or it's just like, yeah, you're going to use athletics, but it's just like one of those things where in D&D 5th edition, you've got an obstacle course and you've got a big-ass stone to lift. And both of those are strength athletics. And in Vampire, it would be like, you got a big-ass stone that is athletics and strength. And then you have another one where it's an obstacle course, and that's wits and athletics. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, you could lift that thing, but there's no way you're going to figure out how to get through that obstacle course in time. And that person is not as strong as you, but they thought through, and they're on the other side already. And I just think it's so perfect.
I like the idea, too, of just, we've been watching romantic comedies at the house, but I could be the smoothest dude in the world and handsome, and like, you're sick of that. You've been hit on every jock frat boy that, works out and has a 10-year, like, but the guy that comes up and makes you laugh, or uses wisdom, or I like him for his brain. Like, there's different things that are going to require a different check. Yeah, it's your appearance maybe, and this because it's a bimbo and you're in a frat thing or whatever. It's, this is going to be an intelligence and, wits because she likes a smart person. She's got a PhD, and good luck. I like the idea.
Yeah. So as for like the actual mechanics, like I wouldn't do a war game with it, but if you want to just have like, hey, you have to figure out all the politics, like it's a skill, politics. Like, you gotta be like, listen, you need etiquette, you need politics, you need a seneschal, and you never have to pick up a gun, you never have to throw a punch, because your sire and your prince and all the archons love you and have your back.
Well, I mean, when you look at it too, when you look at the knowledges and the abilities, like in 5th edition, those are broken down into like 2 skills.
Yeah.
Religion and history is pretty much the only checks you would have based off of all those things in there. And with the Dark Ages one, you've got, academics,
hold on, keep in
law.
mind, they're reading off of Vampire the Masquerade's, or Dark Ages 1st edition, because this is Dark Ages 1st edition.
Yeah.
Technically, it's Vampire the Masquerade's 2nd edition rules when this book came out. We're playing through the Giovanni Chronicles, and that's important to remember. We're not using V5, we're not using V20. This is 2nd edition.
We're talking some older skills. But.
And we have been using the Dark Ages book to try to help supplement some of the stuff that wasn't included in the original Last Supper. So,
But looking at these skills, you've got academics, you've got investigation, you've got law, you've got linguistics, you've got occult, politics, seneschal theology, like those are all broken down into like 1 or 2 skills in 5th edition. So you just have
Make a
that.
persuasion check. Hey, cool, you're out of jail. Make a persuasion check. Hey, cool, you just won over the judge. Hey, make a persuasion kill. Hey, you gotta go home with some dude. Hey, make a persuasion skill. Like it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
So-
okay.
And
So that's my thoughts on like the mechanics.
I appreciate that.
As for like telling a story, what was his name? I looked him up because I knew I was gonna forget it. Mike Pondsmith, the guy who created Cyberpunk or worked on Cyberpunk.
Great game.
Yeah. He had a quote where he said, like, in Cyberpunk, you can't save the world. You can only save yourself. And in Dungeons and Dragons, you don't need to save yourself because you're too busy saving the world. Someone's got to go kill a Sararak, all right? And maybe you get addicted to drugs, but you're not there to, like, deal with your own personal drama. And in Vampire, you can't save the world. It is doomed. And you can't save yourself. You are also doomed.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to find
It's
a
very
way
nihilistic way of
to
looking at it, but okay.
I love that.
trying to find a way to just hold on to it as much of your humanity as you can, and knowing that at the end you're just a beast. And so there's a fragility, but also just a franticness to this game of knowing that your time is up.
You mentioned holding on to your humanity, but also there's this beast. Now, if we were playing a Sabbat campaign, it'd be like, screw your humanity, embrace the beast.
Right.
And it's a completely, and that's one of the things what I really appreciated about this game was you do have these essentially three different sects, the Camarilla, the Sabbat, and the Anarchs, where you can find a home somewhere. So let's go to our next question. So we are about...
Oh, dang, there's more questions?
Yeah.
I was going to say that whole statement he made circled back into you're playing a monster, which you mentioned at the beginning, which I think is Jason Carl.
I think it was
It's
Jason
at the
Carl,
beginning of LA by Night. He mentions that, I think, every game. But
yeah, these are monsters.
Yeah.
So let's talk about... So we're playing the Giovanni Chronicles. We are about 3/4 of the way through the second book. You guys have experienced some interesting... Oh, by the way, just so everybody knows, because I know you all have your character sheet in front of you, you may put 1 dot in a discipline of your choice unless it's already at 5.
Yeah.
Damn it. Can we work back that unless it's 5?
No. If it's already at 5, we're not...
5 in a discipline already?
2. I used all of my points.
I have 5 in one of mine, too.
I am mind to the max. I put as many points in as few disciplines and things as I could, and I regret it.
That's funny.
Yeah, you know what? I spread that shit out.
I really wish I had etiquette too.
Let's
but
talk
I don't.
about what do you guys think of this story from, because you've gone from, and you've maintained the same characters from the Embrace up to now where you guys are 222 some odd years old.
You know what we should say? We should say what our favorite part of the story has been so far. Like, what is our favorite scene?
We'll do it.
I think
Okay.
I think that it's sweet that you said that so softly. The embrace. I feel like our embrace was slightly different.
Your Embrace was wretched.
Our
exactly.
embrace was like
All right.
an
So,
alleyway
Sherry,
rape.
what has been your favorite thing that has happened so far?
Okay, and it is actually from the Embrace, and I've had lots of great moments, but I have 2. Can I have 2?
You can have 2.
So my first one is where we have like keg taps in our freaking necks. That was like one of the best visuals I've ever had in this game. And the second one was my own personal making, where I grabbed the Nosferatu's ugly face
Oh yeah.
and tell him how fucking ugly he is.
It was a she. But yes.
I don't even care.
At that point,
Can you tell?
How can you tell? Yeah.
Okay,
How can you tell?
I'm sorry, but I'm going to jump in here. Can I also have 2?
Sure.
You
Okay.
have 2. I had 2.
Our embrace.
The whole thing?
Yeah, perfect. It's like that sets the tone, and Cherie interacting with that Nosferatu. That is also my favorite 2 parts.
I will jump in, and one of my 2 is also Sherry interacting with that Nosferatu because it really set a tone. I think the other one is all of the stuff about Paris.
Oh my gosh, and that has been all of your own makings
The
too.
noodle incident.
Yeah, I mean, there's been
flying
cows
cow,
thrown from Notre Dame. There's been all sorts of. There's been threesomes. There's been
It's stuff of
fivesomes.
legend. No one really knows.
Nobody knows exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Nolan, what about you?
2. You get 2.
I don't know if I have to. I mean, it's just been
You
a
only
lot
have
of
one?
fun. There hasn't been a standout moment for me. Just, I think because of, I don't know. There's just a lot of insanity that happens sometimes, and I think that's the interesting. Like, we've lost like 3 carts now, but we saw the same cart. It's burnt down, shot up, and we're still rolling around in the old
Amazingly,
jalopy.
Paul is always fixing this damn thing.
He's got prestidigitation or mending or something. I
You're
don't
rich as
know.
fuck, too. Can we mention that? You're rich as fuck, and we're still rolling around in like this beaten up.
I have a
Fire
boat,
car.
but you guys want to hang out in the old jalopy. You can't
Yeah.
beat a classic, man. It's going
We
to come
don't
back
like
in style.
yachts. That's not our style.
It's about like 200 years
Yeah,
old.
exactly. Paul's done a great job. You guys need to commend
Paul
him.
the MVP of our
killing it.
campaign,
Yeah,
for sure.
he's the real.
And he
real
takes
hero.
some shit. Poor
my gosh,
Tammy.
yeah.
You guys are so mean to him.
So I will say, and I'm going to jump in here with a couple things that has struck me is, number one, I absolutely adore Vampire the Masquerade, and what I love about it is the role-playing aspect. What I love about D&D, I love the fantasy aspect of D&D. I love being a dwarf. I love playing a dwarf. It is, for me, what the greatest race there is. I know some people are cringing right now.
No, I'm not, because you didn't say elf.
Well,
Half elf.
what I love about Vampire is the role playing, and I think back to Last Supper and the scene between Nolan and Zach when you guys are in the carriage and you guys are just having a moment. Everybody is sitting around the table, stone cold silent, mouths open, just watching the two of you interact, and it was incredible.
I was
Yeah.
super drunk. That's why I looked
We're,
that
we're,
way.
Okay, fair enough.
we're talking about when
We're talking about
Ares
God.
Yeah.
said something and shook. Oh my God! Ruggiero's like faith to the core.
Oh my
Oh yeah,
god!
that
I actually was going to kill Ruggiero at the end of
Yeah,
the
you were. I know
story.
you were just gonna walk out
Straight up.
and,
Yeah,
I was just
he's-
like, yeah, he's done.
Totally changed.
and it was
He's a new
so
man.
poignant because not only did that conversation happen, and then you had the conversation with Cappadocius, who basically said the same thing, and Ruggiero's like mind blown.
I think there's some interesting. You bring a little bit of it to when you start making a character and to see where it goes. For me, it's a struggle of like, I still like, even as Nolan playing the La Sombra, I'm still trying to hang on to my humanity. Like, I'm trying to run a good business. I'm trying to take care of my family, and I just see every type of control in my life just falling apart, and it is just this fascinating, like, I can see Ares slipping. I can see him sliding, and I don't know how. I feel like that's not what I want for my character. When the character takes on a mind of its own, you're just like, yeah, he's gonna lose it. He's gonna be the most fucked up of all y'all before this is done. This is oh no, you know. And
I think you just challenged Sheree.
No, yeah, no,
I think that's the fun thing about it is, again, because there's so much storytelling. I've had 2 times where that's happened in D&D where I've been blindsided by my character having emotions. When Durvar almost killed the party and Belger told him to leave, like I was like, my feelings are hurt. Like, that's really weird. And my favorite part of the Ninehorn God was Taylor taking care of Kildrak when he was sick. Like, that was one of those things of like, I think Zend is probably the most loyal person to Taylor ever, because
And Taylor doesn't even know that.
yeah, and it was one of those things of it wasn't forced, it wasn't put upon the game, it wasn't put anything. I was just like, holy shit, I love her. She's my sister. Like, she took care of my father, basically, you know, my brother, you know, however he fused that old man, you know, Kildrak. And it was just one of those things of like, I see that with Ares a lot of just like, I have no control, I want control, I have no control. I'm getting frustrated as a player in the system of, we're up against some heavy stuff, and I can just see that, like, you know, like, screw it. You want the beast? Here comes the
Here's
beast.
the beast.
Watch this. So
You know, and Vampire is very much that aspect is, you know, you guys are very powerful beings. You are 7th generation. You are 7 generations removed from Cain. That is very strong. You are considered
Incredibly powerful.
elders. Yeah.
I think like the 5th generation have to spend hundreds of years hibernating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just because they can't. They have to because human blood
we will
isn't
probably
enough to
never
sustain
play
them.
this powerful of a character.
If you really want to think, I was trying to explain it to Nolan. It's like, you know, one of the ways I guess you can look at it, if you want to throw a D&D comparison, you'd be about 13th to 14th level right now.
Right.
That's some very powerful characters in D&D. You guys are you're very strong. Yet, every time you turn around, everybody's above you.
mm-hmm.
And they're all
hanging out with
dicks.
the wrong people.
And they're all dicks.
Not all of them.
Yeah, the Tremere was cool.
Can
Oh,
I
yeah, the
just
Tremere
say
was cool.
That I realize now, looking back at all of the times that have been like super superb, great role playing moments. It feels like it's not the stuff you planned out. It's not the stuff that you lay in bed thinking about your character and the backstory that you're making. It's the stuff that happens for the moment. It really comes from your heart. And I think that those are always the best and most surprising moments of our games.
So, Sheree, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of surprising moments.
That's a nice segue.
So, you are playing our Malkavian.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about why Gretchen is the way she is.
Tell the others how I feel.
Because Gretchen has a horrible past. She was tortured and abused.
And she was a
as
broken
child.
mind before she became a vampire.
Yeah, she was abused by her family. She was neglected and abused by people that should have taken care
I
of her.
had somebody who listens to this show and who listens to the vampire show message me once and said, "Holy cow, Gretchen's backstory is dark."
It's super dark. It's the darkest character I've ever created because this is actually my first time playing a Malkavian. I've always played Brujah or Toreador. I've always played really light-hearted vampires, which is kind of weird. But
You
wanted
make Batman look like a wiener.
yeah, I wanted to make Gretchen feel like somebody who really came from this time. Like, this is a story that was probably played out thousands of times, obviously not the vampire part, but thousands of times in this time period. Women weren't treated well, period. And especially women who maybe showed signs of mental illness. We're talking about a time period where witches were burned at the stake.
Gretchen probably would have been burnt at the stake.
Women who did, you always hear like these tales. It kind of reminds me of like Hansel and Gretel, like the old woman who lives in the woods who was kind of cast out of the town and she lives by herself. Who knows what that woman's true story is? What we think the story is that she's a witch or she's possessed. Or
So I guess
Gretchen's kind of got a little bit of that tone.
my question to you
crap.
is
Gretchen's the old lady on Hansel and Gretel.
yeah, she is.
She has a little bit of that
You
feel.
like to
yeah.
eat kids.
I
Having
do a little bit.
played, like you said, these light-hearted vampires,
Sure.
and even having played quite a few vampires in live-action role-playing,
Sure. Played lots of vampires.
where do you fall? How do you rate playing the Malkavian?
I love it. She is by far my favorite character, and probably because I haven't played in years and years. But, and I think the difference between playing when I was like 15 to 25 to now I'm 38 years old, like it's a very different role-playing experience. I have a different view on everything. So
You gotta
of
get
course
tuned
Gretchen
up to
has,
play this character.
I do. I have to drink a little bit because I'm not naturally an exhibitionist. I'm not somebody who just puts it out there. So I have to inhibit some of my
Inhibition.
Embrace the
inhibitions.
deed.
Yeah,
So
I
you have to embrace-
Yeah, I have to
yeah.
embrace the beast a little bit.
So what happened last time?
I got out fucking crazy because I didn't drink, and it was ridiculous, and I'm really pissed at myself because my mind told me, before you leave the house, take a couple shots. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Everybody's going to say something to me when I get there, like, oh yeah, Sheree's drunk again. But really, it's what needs to happen for me to be able to role play this character and bring her to life, is I have to release a little bit of that side of myself. So
Take off the filter.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a moment where you met.
I got fucked up.
You met him,
yeah.
and there was something about you were like, he did something, and you were like, oh, I gotta out crazy him, and you just kind of like looked at me when you said it, and I'm like, yeah, you just strip your clothes off and just.
And that is
go
a Gretchen move.
and you're like, yeah, I guess I will. Where you, when you're ready in game, would have just been like Gretchen takes her clothes off and stares him in the face.
I should have.
I like my biscuits well done.
Like I should have had my banana hammock ready. Like I don't know what I could have done. I apologize for last.
No, don't apologize.
No, I do.
think it's
I
great.
apologize to myself and to everyone else.
And I think that's something about, again, this is that's very much a second harrowing.
Right.
Yes.
And it's a completely different thing. We are not lambs.
Figure that out.
I got buried
yeah,
naked. It wasn't my best moment.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
It's one of those things of, I don't know. I think there's potential for it, and I think it's okay to have those moments of, take those moments of not necessarily weakness or lack thereof, or just not being in the moment, and just be like, holy crap. That's exactly what happened at, Ares. Ares was just like, fuck it. You want to see power? Let's see power. It was that tipping point of like, maybe it was during your moment of clarity and like, man, that guy's crazy. And then all of a sudden that comes back.
You ever have those moments in your life where like you have something going on and you're kind of on a path and you feel comfortable in it, and then somebody steps to you. Somebody steps to that level and it kind of throws you off, right? You're like, what the fuck is this? Mm-hmm. Okay. And
sober.
Maybe back off for 2 seconds. Maybe that is what happened to Gretchen. I'm not going to say for sure, but I feel like maybe she was like, whoa, wait a minute. What the fuck is this?
Dude, this guy's...
it's like a dog sniffing my ass in an alleyway. It's like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Maybe you wouldn't be like, man, that guy's crazy, and everybody's just looking at you like, that's you. And you're like, no, I'm fine. Fuck you.
Well, and she's been pretty good.
That guy's crazy.
One thing that has happened is that she's found a way to mimic other people's behavior to a certain extent. So there are times where she can keep her shit together.
Oh, God damn it. She's going to strip us all naked and throw us on the ground.
We're going to get buried.
But in this case, this guy was fucking batshit. Patrick did an excellent job of playing that. Yeah. I want to say that is...
I appreciate that.
That's a tip of my hat, the tip of my crazy hat.
It gets a little difficult, and those of you who DM or storytell, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you have to rise to a certain level. And because like I had to make Nolan, I knew Nolan was going to be a difficult one. I had to make him feel uncomfortable.
And you plan that shit out so effortlessly. Like, that was really good. I didn't know what the fuck was coming. I wish I would have had a little bit more of a heads up.
I had to out crazy you. I had to make Zach. I love working with you. I love moments when I hear you just scream in exultation. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, in the Last Supper, Ruggiero knew he was going to kill Marchettis the Bold. He knew right away that guy is going to die for what he did to me. And during the Maelstrom scene where Augustus has shown up and he is diablerizing Cappadocius, you were like, I don't care. I have my own agenda.
He made it very clear what was going to happen.
You knew.
Like Cappadocius was very clear about what was about to happen. So as far as Ruggiero was concerned, that's happening. I'm not going to stop that. I've got one chance.
Yes, you went straight
one chance.
And
all of that, like, stopping this, whatever. Sorry.
So we had all of this amazingness.
My family did an amazing job, saving that soul of that dude and keeping it from the Giovannis, but whatever.
I love
the two who did it just high five.
Yeah, I loved the scene because like you were there, you were attacking Marchettis, and he had turned at that point and was ready to deal a blow to you, and all of a sudden Ares shows up with these shadow tentacles and just whoosh, and holds him in place so you can destroy him. And
I'm pretty scared as Stefan about being tentacled at this point. After the scene, the shit that he's done, I'm just wondering for the day that Ares is like, you know what, you all are a problem, I fed up with you all, and everybody just
I'm gonna get to a level where I can have like 20 of them at one time.
He's scared of it. Gretchen's like, bring on the tentacles.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Stop carrying me with your hands.
Yeah,
use the
fucking tentacles.
Where's Squid Boy at? Fuck you. Put those hands away. Those are nasty.
So
use them.
You had a very visceral, a very what's the word I'm looking for? Just a very emotional reaction to killing Marchettis. I want you and I've seen you do this a couple times, and I love it when you have those reactions. I want you to talk about that a little bit. What was going through your mind when that happened? Did you think you were going to be successful?
Oh, hell no. No, it was one of those things where I fully went into it expecting to die. I was like going to get my licks in. Hopefully I can hit him once so he's like rolling at least a little bit less than he should be.
He never hit you.
Yeah, I'm like maybe, because again, you die in 2 hits. And I'm like maybe I can pull this off. But either way, it's like this is my one chance. If this doesn't work, my only other option is to find someone who is stronger than him and convince them to go kill him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and once it happens, you got to commit. You got to commit to killing. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. And the joy and elation comes because Ruggiero is dead inside.
Fair enough.
Like literally, but also, emotionally. He can't lose anymore. No human could probably defeat him at this moment.
The look on your face was so... I mean, there was, like you said,
Exultative.
Yeah, I mean, it was... You were just like... You threw your arms up in the air. You were like, yes!
I don't remember this.
Because you were drunk.
It was towards the end.
Because you get into character and you actually lost your mind.
Yeah, well, and you and Cody you and Stefan were busy doing something else. And I just think...
We were in the
need
shadows.
stuff
We were
to
like
do.
in a different
I
realm.
love when I see you guys at this table have these natural reactions like that, and I just think it's fascinating that these games that we play, these role-playing games, can bring us to that level. As a storyteller, one of the most rewarding things for me is to sit back and watch the game progress itself as you guys progress it.
Right.
Because I've done a good job of laying it out and saying, okay, what are you going to do? And you run with it.
Not get eaten by Noah's Ark.
So this is, like I stated earlier, we are playing Vampire the Masquerade 2nd edition. Obviously, there is a 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade that takes place in current times. There's a lot of changes that have happened. My question to all of you is do you prefer to play this, or would you be interested in trying the 5th edition? And that's for all of you to answer.
Yeah, of course I'd try it.
Yeah, I would always try it. I like this. But we'll try anything once. Maybe twice.
I'm curious to see it, and I think some of that it would be too. Again, we've had that conversation of when you get high in power, you have to deal with bigger things, and everything is just so much more major. Like, you don't see Elementor like getting the cat out of the tree, like he's fighting demigods. And at one point in your life, he's just like, I just want to go back and like wipe out a cave full of goblins or something. Like, that's so much easier than this.
Life.
And so maybe having some small scale, we're 15th, 16th generation, and it's just like, hey, there's some bad stuff happening on campus, and you're like, hey, cool, that's a big deal, let's do it, versus like Apocalypse Nation. Oh goddamn, could somebody stop trying to take over the world? Like I just want to like be rich and be dead happy. So I would be curious to see just
Maybe
5th generation problems.
Chicago by Night is, I do believe I have the PDF for it because I backed it on Kickstarter. So maybe that's something we can look into. And, we have the rule books. We have all 3 of the most recent books. So that is something we can take a look at.
Yeah. No, I'd be excited to try 5th edition. I do. Okay. I like the mechanics of the RPGs a lot, and I like learning like how they work and the new ones. And
sure.
Yeah, I'd be excited to try something new.
Sure.
Play some. Yeah, and I would like to play something that I'd like to put 2 dots in everything and see if I can do that with a character next time.
Just be like a very jack of all trades.
Yeah, and just
I think
be
there is a very.
Am I handsome? No, but if you let me roll charisma and survival, maybe I could do something.
I'm funny, not pretty.
All right, guys. Well, that is the questions I have for you, and we have come to the end of our time for this show. Plus, we have a game to play. Yeah. You guys seem so
Cocktail
excited.
up, Malkavian. Let's go.
I'm kind of handsome. I'll always let you live
with that
to
in
the end
mind,
of the
Shree,
night.
if people would like to talk to you or get your thoughts on games, how could they get a hold of you?
That's a good question. I am at @re_sleeps on Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's it.
That's your Twitter handle.
And I'm on Facebook. Look me up on Facebook.
Zach?
You can't.
If you want to get a hold of Zach, if you have questions for Zach, you can always get a hold of me at 307RPG.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no social media presence.
He's not social media. He's one of the very few.
Nice. Nolan, we actually have somebody who has less social media than you, but you're not up yet, sir.
Challenge accepted.
Cody.
Yeah, he's up to me now, so
Yeah,
I go before him. You can get me on Twitter at AlphaLCD, or you can drop me an email at my Gmail, which is alphalcd@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or Nolan, sorry.
I'm Nolan. I'm Nolan. You can find me on Twitter and Gmail at nlemires, NLAMERES.
And of course, I am Patrick, and you can find me at 307RPG on Twitter. You can find me at 307RPG on Instagram. You can find us at The Forge Herald on Facebook, because Facebook won't let me change that. Or if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, you can always find us on patreon.com/The Forge Herald. Guys, anything else before we wrap up the show? Cody?
No.
Nolan?
No, thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.